Hi, I'm Amanda Perna at The Amanda Perna, and today I'm going to show you how to sew an elastic kids mask. Now, if you don't want to sew it yourself, they are available for purchase at thehouseofperna.com. So what you're going to need is 2 layers of cotton fabric. You want to make sure it's a very high thread count because that's going to offer the most protection. You want 1 layer of a non-woven interfacing. You need all 3 layers to be cut at 6 inches by 8 inches for kids that are 2 to 6, and for kids that are 7 to 14, you need it 6.5 by 8.5. The next thing that you're going to need are 2 pieces of elastic for the ear straps. I really prefer the tubular elastic, but you could use an 1/8 inch elastic. You could use a 1/4 inch, but it's a little thick, and especially for the little ones, you want it to be soft so they actually will wear it. For the smaller kids, which is the 2 to 6 age group, you want it to be cut at 5 inches, and for the kids that we're calling a medium size, you want it to be 5.5 inches. I am really big on making sure you have a nose piece to secure it snugly to the face. I like to use these little twist ties like you would find for bread, just because they're flat, they're easy to sew, and the wire is soft so it doesn't poke through and stick you. You obviously need some pins, little scissors, thread. You might need a measuring tape, you need an iron, and you need a sewing machine, and that's it. So the first step is you are going to take your front fabric and you're going to put it face up. You're going to take your lining fabric and you're going to put it on top of it, and both of the outsides are going to be facing each other. Then you're going to take your filter layer and you're going to put it on top of your lining fabric. So now your machine is set up and you have your fabric ready, and it's time to do the next step. So the next thing that you need to do is put the elastic pieces in. You're gonna put them on the shorter side, and you wanna do it at about 1/2 inch. That's gonna be our seam allowance, so it makes it snug right in the corners. It doesn't have to be exact, but it's just what I found has been easier. So you take your 1/2 inch, and you are going to open back up your fabric, and you're gonna stick it between your face layer and your lining layer. So like I said, at about 1/2 inch. So you're gonna wanna stick it there, you're gonna put your layer down, and you're going to pin. You don't have to pin if you are comfortable doing it without the pin, but I just think it stabilizes it a little bit better and it makes it a little easier to do. And then you're gonna come down here, you are going to have to pull it a little bit in order to make it fit. And you're gonna put your layers back, and you are going to put your next pin. Now, it's really important when you're sewing that you make sure this elastic stays out from this seam so it doesn't all get caught inside, because if it does, you're gonna have to take it all apart. So now you're gonna do this side. So you have 2 options. You can either pin all 4 first, or you can sew and come back to the other side. I like to do one side complete and then come back around. So we are going to sew at 1/2 inch seam allowance. And as you go, you might need to add some more pins to stabilize all the way around here. If you do, there's nothing wrong with that. You are just gonna stick your pins here like this. And you wanna make sure, once again, you do not catch this elastic in here. So if you find that your elastic is pushing into your seam allowance, you're just gonna have to stop and adjust, which is why I like to not pin it, but it's up to you, whatever you feel more comfortable with. When I sew, I always like to back stitch just to have extra safety. So we're gonna go back stitch. Okay, now I'm gonna pull my pin out as I go. You can leave them in if you need to, or you can pull them out. That's personal preference. We're gonna stitch all the way down, and if it starts to bubble like this, you're just gonna wanna pull it a little bit and adjust. Okay, so here we go. Keep stitching down. And we're gonna, I'm just gonna sew over this one actually. Okay, and we are going to back stitch again. Okay, so as you can see, what it's gonna look like is like this. So you have your elastic right here. So now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So now we have both sides and the elastic stitched. Now we're going to stitch the top. So once again, you can put pins all the way down if you need to, or we can just put a couple just to stabilize. So I like to just do 3, 1 on each side, and then 1 in the middle just to give a little bit of stability. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna go to the seam allowance here, push it down, and we're gonna go 1/2 inch. And back stitch. Okay, so we are gonna take our pins out, and now we are going to sew in the nose piece. You want to do it in the center of the panel, and with this I find it's easier not to pin it. So you're going to want to stick it here. I like to sew on this left side, and you want to make sure you don't catch it in your seam, so that way you can keep it in there tight without it breaking through and being uncomfortable on your face. So you want to watch out for that little wire as you go. Okay, and then the back stitch. Okay. So now we have the first 3 sides done. I like to do this, but you don't have to. I like to do a little clip in the corner, so that way when you flip it, it's easier to press. You do not want to clip through your seams though. You want to clip right up to it. So don't cut your threads, your sewing lines. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to sew the bottom, but you can't go all the way and close it because it's going to be hard to flip it the right sides out. So what I like to do is leave about 2 inches in the center. If you need to, you can mark that for yourself. So we're just going to eyeball it, and we're going to do it, stop at about 2 inches. So if it's easier for you to have a guide, then feel free to stick a pin in there, or like I said, you can eyeball. So you're gonna put it right up to that other side, and we're gonna do it at 1/2 inch again. Okay, so we're gonna sew right up to that pin, and then we are going to back stitch. Okay, and now we're gonna do the other side. Same thing, so this time we'll start at the pin. We are going to do 1/2 inch seam allowance. And we're going to sew right up to this seam here. And back stitch. Okay, and now we're going to clip these corners again. Remember, you want to clip right up to it, not through it. Okay. And clip this one. And any little extra threads, I like to clip it before we flip it. Okay, so we have this little hole in the center, and we are going to turn our mask inside out. Now, if you have bigger fingers or you have a hard time doing this, you might want to make your hole a little bit wider, but for me, I think 2 inches is perfect. Okay. So you're going to want to pull this nice and tight out. So here is what our mask is starting to look like. The nose piece is in here, you just want to make it flat. Pull that out. Now I like to take it to the iron next, and you want to fold these underneath like pretending they are sewn, because they are going to get sewn and caught in our next step. So just turn that under. I like to use a little small iron that I could put right on the table, but you could do this with any kind of iron that you have at home. So the first thing I like to do is press this little seam here, so that way when we go to sew the next step, you know that it is gonna be even here. And then press your seams so they're nice and flat. This will make it easier as we pleat, which is our next step. Okay, so we have all 4 corners nicely done. And then the next thing we're gonna do is fold this in half. We're going to be making the 3 pleats, so you do want to make sure that you make them even. So we're gonna do it in half, and that'll give you the center pleat. And then we're gonna do it in half again. And then we're gonna do it in half again. Okay, so this is gonna tell us where we need to pleat. So now we are ready to make our pleats. So the folded piece is going to go halfway to the next folded piece. So essentially, once they're all pleated, they're gonna meet up with each other. So when you do this, you wanna make sure you pin all the way through, and you want, like I said, here's our next one, so you wanna make sure it's at the halfway point. And I like to go back and forth from side to side, but you could also do all of the same side and come back. And when you're doing this, you wanna make it as straight as you can, because this is how it's gonna look once we put the final stitches in. So we're gonna go once again, halfway up to that point. And we're gonna pin through all of the layers. Okay, so once you have all of your pleats in, I like to, at this point, give it a little press on both sides. So one here, and then one on the back side. See, and you can see that they're evenly lined up, nice and straight. So the next step is going to be, we are going to do a top stitch all the way around the mask. I like to start on the bottom because that's where this opening is, so that way you can make sure you catch it. And you wanna do this at about 1/4 of an inch. And we're gonna go all the way around. So you might get that little bunching. If it happens, you might need to guide it and just shove it a little bit, because there's a lot of bulk in there. So there you go. And we're gonna go all the way around. And you wanna make sure you're catching that bottom piece in here nicely, so it's fully closed. And we're gonna stop there, turn, and go around. And remember, just gently guide it if it gets a little stuck. And once again, you can pull the pins out while you're stitching if you need to. I don't always do that, but you certainly can while you're sewing yours. And we're gonna go around here. And you're gonna do your last corner. And remember, you can pull your pins out as you go. You want to go slow because there's a lot of bulk in here. And we're going to go all the way up to the top. And we're going to do a back stitch. Now we're going to take our mask out, and we are going to remove any extra little threads that are crazy, and take out the pins. You may have already done this while you were sewing, but I didn't. So I'm gonna take them out now. So now we have our kids' mask finished. You can put it on their face, adjust it to their nose, easy to get on and off. And obviously this one won't fit my face, so I'll show you on one of the adult elastic masks that we have at the Housekeeping. So all you have to do is slip it over your ears, pull it down over your chin, gently push on your nose for a snug fit, and voila, easy to put on, easy to take off, and the best part, it's washable. I'm Amanda Perna at the Amanda Perna. Thanks for watching, have fun sewing, and stay safe.